Hello. Today we're gonna finish up the actions, and at least just for movement. And then we're gonna make a couple items. So, in your character.py, just underneath all your movement functions, what we're gonna do is define a function called do action with self action and kwargs as the parameters. And then we say action underscore method equals get attribute, which is get attr. Self is the first argument, and then next argument is action dot method dot underscore underscore name underscore underscore. And then we say if action underscore method, then we say action method kwargs. So the action, or the get attribute, let's say we're going to move north. So the get attribute goes to actions and goes into move north and grabs out the name, which is move north, and the method, which is character.move north, right? So then what that does is it returns that to here and assigns that method to action method. And then we say if the action method exists, so if we got the right attribute, then execute that with the kwargs. Now that we have that, let's go back to the play, and we go in to play, and then just underneath action input we do for action in available actions, and then we say if action input is equal to action dot keyword, then we say player dot do action with action as the first parameter and star star action dot kwargs. Okay, so now also we need to put a break just after that. That way we break out of the loop. Okay, so now you're able to move. So let's go ahead and test it out and see how it goes. Hang on. Let's see. So Python 3 play.py. Okay, so we say go north. Look at that. We got the tile step going, so go north again. Look at that. Alright, so we are indeed moving, so let's see if we change tiles. Okay, and finally, there you go. So we change tiles, and the action is caught and executed. So now we'll click Q, clear that out. Alright, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and make some items, because items are just a lot of fun, and they let you do pretty much, let you be extremely creative. So make a new file called items.py, and in one of these tutorials I'm going to show you how to make NPCs, non-player characters. That way, let's say, your person or your player goes into a village, but they still need like a shop or something. Then you can make an NPC, name him George or something, and make a shop out of him. Okay, so what we'll do here, we'll make an inventory first. That way we have the base for all of this. So we'll say class inventory, and then we'll define an initializer function, name, group, description. And the reason we're doing this is so you can find different, let's say, backpacks throughout the world. So like if we say, here, how about we can say burlap bag equals inventory, and then we can, say burlap sack, and then we can, etc., etc., and then whatever we define down here, what the player is able to find in the world. So, and finally, self.items equals a dictionary, and that's what we'll be using to put items in the backpack. Probably pretty obvious, right? Okay, so we'll make a string representation, and we'll say return, remember F for format the string, say description holds capacity items. And then, so anytime we want to just tell the person what this is, then we can just return the string representation, which all that would be, like let's say we had the burlap bag again. So all you would have to do for that is print burlap bag, because the burlap bag would be an inventory item or an inventory object, and because we're calling it, it's not going to, and we gave it a string representation, it's not going to return what you would normally see if you just call a regular class in a print statement, and you'd actually see the string representation, which is basically just a human readable version, or a human readable description. Okay, now let's make a class and call this item. And if you guys want me to tell you some more things, like what you could do with certain things, let me know. Might as well make a healing potion in here, and what this whole thing is for is to basically give you the tools to build what you need, because all of this is basically the same, we're just kind of doing new things throughout it, so you should be able to make some more and expand upon this. So we'll make an initializer function again, self group name value description. And then, of course, again, this is the most tedious part, self.group equals group. And the whole reason we're kind of repeating ourselves here is because each one of these has their own specific function. So obviously item is going to be so we can make anything we need, right? So we can make, like, I don't know, a key, which, by the way, this is interesting. So just after description, I should have put quest item, and then you can make different quest items. Like you could send somebody on a little mission to find excuse me, to find a key or something like that. And I'll show you how to make, if you need or if you want, I'll show you how to make like a room or something, like a dungeon that people can go into. We'll use self.worth as the value. Okay, so the worth is what you could sell an item for, and the value is basically just for like a healing properties. So if you have a potion that heals your character for 100 hit points, then you're able to sell it for 100 cash cubes or whatever. So that's why that's tied to that. And then we'll say self.description equals description. And then just as everything else, we give it a string representation. Let's say return, F for format, a name, and then description, and finally value. So, alright, so we have that, and what we'll do, like let's say we're going to make a health potion. What we could do in the description part, we could say, I don't know, a health potion that heals you 4, and just leave off the number, and then the value will be how much it heals them for. Okay, so now, excuse me, now we can make different things like weapons. So let's just go ahead and make a weapon really quick. So it should be fairly simple here, so let's just give them fists to start out, which is technically an item. Group is weapon, name is fists, and then the value, I don't know, let's give it a 5 damage. 5 damage, and then descriptions, your fists. And then quest item is false. So now we have fists. Now it gives the fists, obviously, a damage value. The worth is tied directly to the value, so we don't actually have to put that into here twice, which is why it's not declared in the parameters. So then you can basically just keep going and doing all of that. It's fairly simple. Once you do a class, you can just make endless amounts of different objects. One thing I forgot to well, two things. So I forgot to put the quest item in the variable declarations down there, and also let's put in another parameter called can cell, and we'll default that to true. If you declare something up here like can cell and say it equals true, then if can cell is not passed to an initializer, like let's say we said quest item is equal to false up here, but we didn't put it in here, then it would just default to false. So if so when we put can cell, obviously we put true, we let it default to true. That way, you know, we really don't have to pass an extra parameter. But now we can pass it. We can pass the can cell. So here, can cell equals false, because they're your fists. You can't really sell your fists. But also we need that for quest items. That way they can't sell quest items and leave themselves stranded during a mission. So let's make a burlap sack. Burlap sack equals inventory, and then the name is burlap sack. Group is inventory. Make sure you leave the group a lowercase. That way it's easier and you don't have to worry about case later on when you're looking for something. That'll be explained or shown in another video. Description is a tattered burlap sack. Remember that when we did description holds capacity items. So the description is a tattered burlap sack. So what they'll see is a tattered burlap sack, comma, holds 5 items. And then we'll do some other stuff on that a little bit later. So now that you know how to do this, remember this is all super simple. How we did down here with the fists and the burlap sack, that's actually just how you do any of the other things. So I mean, for example, if you wanted a healing potion, then you would just say, let's say, lesser heal equal to item potion is the group lesser health potion, and then we can then assign it a value. Let's say it heals 2 health. Then we can say a lesser healing potion that heals, or well, let's say heals 4, and then we'll say 2, or no, shoot, heals 4, and then false because it's not a quest item. So what'll happen here is, remember, since we put name, description, and value, so with personal C is lesser health potion, and then it says a lesser healing potion that heals 4, and then it goes back to here and says 2 just after that. So it's really as simple as that, and in a later video I'll show you how to actually use your items, and we might even expand one of these classes. So there's that. Let's say, just to make sure that it works, remember, save that, go ahead and go to play, go all the way up, and we need to import items. Okay, now if we go down, we can assign an item to the player. You remember how we had inventory here, so what we'll do is we go to player, and then we say, because remember we made the player up here, So what we do is we say player dot inventory is equal to items dot burlap sack, and then we can say player dot equipped is equal to fists, or, well, yeah, items dot fists. And then just to make sure it works, let's go ahead and say down here, just for a debug, let's say print equipped is player dot equipped, and inv is equal to player dot inventory. Okay, so if we save that, make sure everything's all saved. Okay, then we go ahead and open this back up, and let's see if it works. List index is out of range. Name is not defined. Why? So what I did here is for each one of these, you're supposed to put self dot name and such like that. So that is my apology. My bad. So self dot name, self dot description, self dot value, and then do the same for up here. Everybody makes mistakes. Okay, so let's try that again. List index out of range. Your fists 5 inv. So let's say inventory has no attribute capacity. You gotta love it. You actually you really have to love, what are they called? Typos. Okay, so it's 2 mistakes already. There we go. Equipped a fists. Your fists 5 inv. So this is what the person will see. So we'll have to modify this, and then inv is tattered burlap sack holds 5 items, and then you see that. So now everything works. In a later video, we'll work on actually spawning items out in the world. We'll work on actually interacting with items, fighting things, making enemies, etc., etc. So thanks for watching. I hope you had fun. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments. All right, have a good one.